Sybil, your dear friend, Sharon Robinson is on the phone because you can't say Sharon Robinson's name without saying first, my dear friend.
And her dear mother, Mrs. Rachel Robinson. Good morning, dear friend.
Good morning. I'm wonderful.
And
How are you?
morning.
You're good, huh?
Yes? So everything's going great. Uh-huh.
When did you realize as a child that your father was extra special in this world?
that your dad was
Jackie Robinson.
Right.
Yeah. When did you?
Well, you know when you go out with him, So we knew people would stop him. We go out to dinner and people ask for autographs. So we knew something was up, and we knew he was a baseball player. But I think you really understand it as you're an adult looking back.
And you talk about in your new book, but you have written books before about your dad and situations and things of his growing up. And now this is about your growing up, and it's called Child of the Dream, a memoir of 1963. 1963, obviously a pivotal year in the civil rights movement, but for you especially.
Well, I turned 13 that year, Sybil. I guess you remember what it's like to turn 13. But also, it was a year that my father brought my brothers and I into the civil rights movement. It was before that, it was him going south, raising money, going on voter registration drives, and in 1963 he came back from Birmingham after the Children's March, and we'd asked to go down with him to Birmingham, and he came back and he said, now this is going to be our family mission. And so we had our first jazz concert on our lawn in June of 1963, and it raised money for SCLC. And then we went as a family to the March on Washington. And after that, we had our second jazz concert, and Dr. King actually came himself. And when I say we had it, my brothers and I, we sold hot dogs and sodas. We were all raising money for the civil rights movement, and it really felt like it was the beginning of our family mission.
And Sharon, your lawn was different from many of our lawns. So we might have been able to have somebody with a guitar sitting on our front porch, but your whole life was different. But you were expected to be a part of this, to take part the way your dad did, and he felt you all were ready for it.
Absolutely. Our dinner table conversation, he would tolerate, us talking about what happened, in our lives, but we were really, since 1955, we started in 1957 when he retired from baseball. He moved right into the civil rights movement, and at our dining room table, it was a forum each night, and that's how he brought us in and made us feel a part of it. I remember when the Little Rock Nine called him during dinner, and his reaction to it and my reaction to it, and he just felt like, I can't believe those courageous kids are calling me for inspiration. And so it was that was just part of our life, and he wanted us to continue it. And he died in 1972, and Mom founded the Jackie Robinson Foundation. So we found lots of ways to continue a legacy that he and my mom began in the 50s.
And Sharon, a part of the book is, as you said, your dad tolerated you all having these conversations about the trivialities of our growing up, and the boy and girl thing and all of that stuff.
Right.
And that is the beauty of the book too, because I loved the conversations that you would have with your grandmother or your brothers or your friends, and about your brother's friends and your friends kind of liking your brothers, and it was all of that, but that was also married to the fact that so much was going on not only in your family but in our country and in our world.
Absolutely. Well, the Children's Crusade in Birmingham, Alabama was the inspiration for the book. And actually it was Scholastic, my editor, who talked me into writing it as a memoir.
Right.
Yeah, and it so I actually now have some great friends in Birmingham as a result of doing the research for this book. So you have to do an extensive research. I even had to do research on myself, and that's the fascinating part. We remember our childhood, but to really remember it, we have to go back with other people.
Yeah.
Sharon and Sybil, when did you all become best friends, and how did it happen?
Chicago.
Doctor,
The
it was
Push Excel
Jesse
basketball
Jackson.
classic.
Yeah.
Jesse Jackson, right?
Jesse Jackson, and I met Sharon and Craig Kirby that same year.
Oh my God, Craig
working on
Kirby.
the basketball classic, about probably this time of year, wasn't it, Sharon? It was in the fall.
Yes, it was always in September.
Yeah.
We had it in Chicago at the, what was the arena, Sybil?
It was at the old well, what we call now the United Center, but the old stadium. Yeah, Chicago Stadium.
And we had to organize the whole thing along with the people at Push, and
Central City
we had some
Productions.
fun times.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Sharon and her mom also came to what my mom was working at Jackie Robinson School in Chicago.
Yes.
And she and her mom graciously came and were a part of that as we were kicking off the Jackie Robinson School. And I just love you and your mother so much. And your mother is just such an inspiration. What would your dad think about the state of baseball today?
Sybil, I think he'd be okay with the fact that it's become a global game. And, we have, the whole point was the color barrier. It wasn't just for African Americans. So our game is really global, and we have an exciting programs for young people, for young men and for women, so softball and baseball. And we just renamed the old Dodger town in Florida, in Vero Beach, Florida, after my dad, and it's becoming a youth training center. So this summer I met with young men and young girls, that are moving up in the game, but they're also thinking about college and making plans beyond the playing field. So I think he would feel good about it. We have so far to come with our education in general with young people, with our African American young people.
And you guys are doing great things with the Jackie Robinson Foundation.
The foundation. That's
we got 10 books
focus.
to give away.
We
do.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
cool.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah, we have 10 books to give away.
And Sharon, thank you so much. The book is called A Child of the Dream, a memoir of 1963 by my dear friend, Sharon Robinson.
The next
you both. Have a
next
great day.
text is at 646464 gets a copy.